Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ben, and in this episode of the Smoking Hot Confessions Barbecue podcast, we are talking to a man whose passion for barbecue has led him to not one, not two, but three different career paths. Hey family, I hope you're well wherever you are and you got that thin blue smoke rolling. This is episode 119 of the Smoking Hot Confessions Barbecue podcast. And as I said at the top of the episode, we do have a really interesting episode coming up for you with a really cool guy. But before we get into it, I've got a couple of announcements that I need to run past you. First of all, if you are new to the low and slow barbecue scene, we do have a beginner's guide to real barbecue available over on the Smoking Hot Confessions Barbecue website. It is completely free. Just click on through to the website, have a bit of a scroll around, smokinghotconfessions.com, and a pop-up will come up asking you if you want it. So easy as just enter the information and it'll send it through to your email there straight away. The beginner's guide to real barbecue, all free. Also, we are looking for businesses to partner with regarding sponsorship here in the podcast. So we're looking at introducing some video ads, 1 minute in length, and looking for some people who've got some messages they want to get into the eyes and ears of some raving mad barbecue fans. So if you think that's you, hit me up with an email, ben@smokinghotconfessions.com, and let's get that sorted. Now today, as I said at the top of the episode, we do have a man whose passion for barbecue has led him to three different career paths. So we're going to talk to him a bit later on about that. We're going to find out about that progression. So he started as a butcher. He's opened up his own barbecue shop, and now he's extended the barbecue shop into a food truck as well. So if you're putting together the pieces at home, we are talking to Rik Carr from Rik's Grill down in South Australia. So without further ado, let's get stuck into it.
This is the internationally awarded Smoking Hot Confessions Barbecue podcast with your host, Ben Arnott. How long's it been since your last confession?
Alrighty, Rik, welcome to the confessional, my friend. How are you today?
G'day, Ben. It's been a minute. How you been?
Good, man. Good. It's been it'd be a year since we last spoke now, I think.
I was trying to think, when was the last, what was it, the last comp? Was it Horsham? Up in Smoke? I can't remember which one it was. They're all the days.
I think Horsham was the one, it was the first one I met you in person, and we recorded a little video interview there. Was when you were first opening the shop. And then
That's correct, with Smoking Joint. That one was Smoking Joint.
That's right. Yeah. Over in the horse stables.
That's right. Mr. Ed.
yeah. And then I came by the shop and I saw you a few months later for, I was on my way to Fat Trip.
That's correct. Yep. We had a beer here, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
But just one, because I had to drive out to the Barossa Valley. So it was just one.
Well, we were well behaved for one time.
We were. Yeah. Yeah, we had to keep it under control for once. Yeah. So tell me, my friend, what was the last thing that you barbecued?
I'm doing some pork ribs right now, actually, out in the Yoda smoker. So the last thing would be, as of now, my barbecue clock does not stop 24/7, basically.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. Actually, I've got the wife watching the Radar Hill outside here now, just through that window over there, and I've got two briskets, two pork shoulders, and a giant piece of chuck roast there.
Yes, I just told my wife to stir up the glaze, so on the same page, right? Yeah.
I actually set an alarm on my wife's phone with a reminder telling her to put another log on in about 15 minutes.
This is married life, isn't it?
Yeah. Mrs. Pitmaster.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so tell me a bit about that Yoda. You mentioned that you have a Yoda.
So we're running out of Adelaide's actually biggest Yoda smoker, 3-door. The Kano Boss, through with Kano Boss. He got it off the main man, Dave Sprigg. Got it imported over. We built the trailer here in Gawler, and 3 tons of barbecue towing around the streets of Adelaide. So it is not light. It is a heavy, heavy beast, and it is huge. Wow. It turns heads when we're driving. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, I'm actually surprised that to hear you say that. I think last time I was there, you had a pellet grill, so I was expecting you to talk about like a YS 640 or something like that. But a 3-ton trailer, that would have to be bigger than the original TSJ one, wouldn't it?
It is. The original TSJ was 2-door. This one's a 3-door. So it is a touch bigger than the TSJ. It's huge. It's big. I was using the pellets. I found them so convenient, so easy, but I had to go back to the original stick burner. I just couldn't refuse it. I love to barbecue, and barbecuing to me is stick burning.
Yeah, nice. So is that what you use throughout the shop as well as the truck as well?
Yeah, correct. We use that everywhere and anywhere we go. It basically runs honestly 24/7. At the moment, we're going through a ton of wood every 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it doesn't stop. Night, days, it's going. I need to put a swag next to it, I think.
Mate, with a trailer that big, it'd be strong enough that you could just build a second story and put like a pop-up off-road tent on there.
A little bathroom on the side. Maybe even a shower. Yeah.
Little privacy tent.
Exactly.
I have actually seen some people who they had just a smaller 20-inch one. It was a fellow up here, 50 Shades of Pork, maybe? No.
You're going to get that wrong. Someone's going to say something to you. No,
it's somebody else. It's the steampunk Yoda, and he's actually welded his own little hot water tank to the firebox, and so
awesome. So it actually heats it up itself.
Yeah. So anytime he needs a wash or something, he's got hot water on tap there.
Every comp, I look at that smoking grillers trailer, and I just look at that and go, oh, they are sleeping in luxury. That thing is a beast.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
Oh, the big Heat Beads trailer.
Yes. That is amazing.
Cool.
Yeah. That's the next move for me, I reckon.
Oh, mate, I saw that for the first time at Port Macquarie 2018, and it was blazing hot. They had the air conditioning going. They had Mario Kart on the TV inside, and like bean bags on the floor because the bunks fold up against the wall. It was really cool.
Yep, that's correct. It's amazing, actually, the different sites you go around at comp and the different things they have set up. Some of the things you see set up are just mind-blowing. Like, you could live there for years.
Yeah, I found that with some of the comps I was going to in America. I was like, this is nicer than my house. And this is your competition trailer.
I remember Creekside, where they had the competition for the best set up site, and TSJ out of South Australia here. God, did they smash it. I remember one year they had a full lounge chair, Nintendo set up. It literally looked like, when you're 16 in the backyard, in your shed in the backyard. It was an amazing site, really cool.
Yeah. I have seen some photos of Smoke and Grillers with a inflatable pool there as well. That might have been a similar competition. They were competing for who could have the best site.
I can imagine Jai lined up in that.
I think there's actually a photo floating around of someone belly flopping into it. It's like the full arms out, belly out, and then just water spraying up everywhere.
As long as it's not Andrew from Q Club like in the creek that year, we'll be right.
Yeah, let's hope so. Yeah. So, man, tell us how you got into barbecue. What was your introduction to the barbecue scene?
Yeah, so young fella, 15, 16 years old, up in the Adelaide Hills here in the country. Left school, didn't know what to do. Typical larrikin style thing. Found a job in a butcher shop cleaning it up. Then went on to doing my apprenticeship with the same shop. Became a manager of that shop, ran that shop up there. Ended up moving down to the city, running a couple of butcher shops down here. Then actually bought my own shop. And sort of got in contact with Abel Costonis from Clean Heat Charcoal, the man, the myth, the legend.
The man himself, yeah.
He is, yeah. And got talking barbecue with him because I always like to cook over charcoal, so I was purchasing some charcoal off him. And then he said, can we get a brisket? Can we get this? And then sort of he started introducing me to a few other people, and I started doing some low and slow, and the passion grew. And, like we say to most people, it's like a drug. Once you're hooked, you're on.
Yeah, no doubt about that at all. Yeah. So what drew you to butchery in the first place? Was it just like a general love of meat you've always had? I've
always loved cooking, always loved to barbecue as such. We've got family photos. Me as a young fella with my grandfather cooking on a brick fire pit barbecue, things like that. So I've always loved to barbecue. And it was just one of those jobs that I could leave school and have an actual trade behind me. And, stop my parents for giving me shit for leaving school, really, to be honest.
Yeah, I hear that, man, yeah. So when you were moving into butchery, did you, what was the hardest sort of part to it? Was it something that sort of came naturally to you, or did you really have to sort of work at it?
A lot of people seem to struggle with the workload and the hours. It's long days. We're doing 15, 16-hour days and not blinking at it. And that was hard at the time when I was young. I wanted to go out, wanted to go party, do all the fun things, cruising the cars. And I'm still doing it now. But what it has taught me is to sort of, and I'm lucky for it now, that I sort of blend the two lifestyles together where, me doing a 20-hour day, my wife cannot keep up with me. She always says, have a rest, sleep. 4 hours sleep is a huge, huge effort for me. I just don't stop.
Wow. Okay. And is that an ADD thing, or you just love work?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. The Ritalin when I was a teenager never helped.
I got a buddy who grew up on a farm. He's definitely ADHD. And I remember as a kid, his parents would just say to him, "Go run up that mountain." There was a big mountain up behind the house.
Yeah.
And
I used to get chasing the seagulls at the beach. Go catch a seagull. My parents would make me do it for hours. So exactly the same thing, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
But that was definitely sort of what people found, as soon as you said to your uncle, your auntie, your older generation, your influences, whatever, that you're a butcher, how do you find the long hours? And within a couple of weeks, it was just my lifestyle. That's just what I did didn't stop working. And luckily now I've sort of blended my social life and my fun life into my work life as well. So it just doesn't stop for me, and I'm loving every minute of it. Yeah,
that's a good point. I not exactly the same sort of thing, but I ended up going and working in bars as a teenager when I was at university, because I couldn't afford to go out to the bars where all my friends were going out to the bars. I thought, okay, well, I'll just work at the bar and then I still get to hang out with my friends and someone else pays me to be there. So
that's exactly how I sort of learned to barbecue. Was, I was sponsoring all the major teams here in Adelaide, and everyone says, "Oh, well, where did you learn?" Well, I was going around to all the best of the best, suck knuckle smokers, smoking joints, smoking still. These guys are trophies after trophies, and sitting courtside with them while they're cooking, and they're all giving me their tips and their pointers and what rubs. I'm watching everything that no one, closed behind the scenes that no one's allowed to see, and I'm watching it from every single one of these teams and just picked up a little bit from everyone, and it's been great for me.
Yeah. Now, you just started mentioning some of the Adelaide teams there. Tell us a bit about the barbecue scene down there in Adelaide.
The barbecue scene down in Adelaide is very, very tight-knit, family-orientated. What I've noticed the most is, if a newcomer's coming up, the amount of help and the amount of tips and hints and everything that these guys get is just second to none compared to when, some of us, the older guys, so to speak, that have been around a few years now, sort of, we had to do some research to get it. And we've got a barbecue Facebook page down here called South Aussie Barbecue, thousands of members on it. And we've got file sections in there that Dane Cohen from Smoking Still's written up, and Rebecca from Texas has written up. And it's just step-by-step instructions of exactly what to do. And they're there for everyone. Everyone is there to help everyone. It's a real family. Our kids play together. We have barbecues together. It's a really, really tight-knit group.
Yeah, I know that group that you're talking about there. It's really tops. It's it's just a shade under 10,000 people there now, I think.
It is, but not comparing to other pages, but I'm a member of most pages, and just the positive vibe through that page is I've never seen enough. Even in different social groups, I'm involved in a men's mental health group down here, and that's a real positive page as well. But the barbecue page is just, there's never any put down. Someone could ask what people would say the stupidest question, and no, there's not one negative comment towards it. So it's amazing to welcome the new guys to come in and feel comfortable to ask, how do I like my chimney, or what's the difference between this brand and that brand, or anything like that. And there's just no judging on what they're learning at the time.
Yeah, that's really good. That's incredible. There's quite a few groups in there that seem to develop this kind of I guess people don't understand that as their level of knowledge increases, that there's other people following that don't have that level of knowledge.
That's right. And they're very, very quick to forget that they were there. Yeah. They were in that spot, whether it was 6 months ago or 6 years ago. None of us created this. We've all learned it as we've gone along. I get it a lot that I get customers coming to me from being in the butchering days saying, "Oh, well, I've gone to this butcher. He doesn't know what he's talking about because he's giving me some yearling beef rather than some arbor scored beef." And it's like, well, no, his job was to learn the trade, not learn the difference between what we need for low and slow. So how about educating your butcher and tell your butcher to give me a call? I'll help them. But I just don't get the whole putting down when people are learning. That's not right, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now, you just raised a bit of an interesting point there about butchers and low and slow cuts and all that sort of stuff. As an Aussie trained butcher, how did you sort of come across the US style barbecue cuts, and how did you learn to cut them right?
I'd been butchering for 10, 12 years before I come across the American style. And it's not that you learn it all, but like a chef, like a painter, like a mechanic, you learn your way of doing it, and you get very confident and sound in that way that you do that. then to be doing that for so many years, managing shops, and then to see this, there's something I don't know. Like there's this new thing I can learn. And I just fiend it. And every YouTube video I could watch, and talking to other barbecue guys, and speaking to good solid butchers like Luke from Kelly's Meats, and Glenn from Cha Cha Cha, just feeding information off those guys. Like, what's this? What's that? How do I do this? And then talking to the barbecue guys themselves. That's where in South Australia we had Dane Cole would regularly come into the shop with me and break down a piece, show me what was what. Grant remember how I met Grant from Smoking Joint. I was at a comp and I was trimming some beef ribs, and Grant's like, here, let me show you. And we both actually ended up teaching each other, where I sort of bring in the Australian butchering style, and he was showing me the American style, and we just blended the two together. And it's like, we created this new way of trimming beef ribs, and I still use it this day. I'm probably sure he does. Like, it's just great to have something new, learn it, and just embrace it and grow with it.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah. Now, speaking of TSJ, as we did say earlier, that was the first time I think I met you in person, was when we did that little interview down there at Meat in Horsham. How long have you been cooking with them, and tell us some family-friendly podcast stories that you can about TSJ.
There's actually a new nickname for Grant Neal that I've got to bring up. He was known as Mr. Hollywood, which everyone would know him as. We're going to start a new one. We're going to call him Mr. Hippopotamus. Uh-oh. That is Grant Neal's new name. I'll let him explain why he's got that nickname. But anyone to see him in the next few months, just say hello, Mr. Hippopotamus, for us. He'll have a giggle at that one. I've known Grant for 4 or 5 years now. He is the larrikin of barbecue. He is a character and a half, but he's got a heart of gold. I can ring him at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, mate, these beef ribs aren't cracking. What am I doing wrong? Blah, blah, blah. He was the one that taught me fire management on that big Yoda. It was obviously that's your biggest struggle with, getting your heat, getting the pit up. And he's the guy that taught me all that. So he's got all the time in the world for anyone. And that's what I really, really appreciate about that bloke.
Yeah, he's definitely a good guy. Yeah, and he really understands just from a kind of a branding perspective, like putting on a persona for the public as well. Because I've found that having conversations with him in public and having conversations with him in private are two completely different experiences.
That's to be honest. Like when I first sort of got involved in the scene, I was sort of sponsoring a lot of the teams, and I wasn't actually at the time wasn't sponsoring TSJ. They were sponsored by Ian Shaw down at Ellis Butchers, and so I was sort of watching him from that public eye, and I'm going, this guy's a tosser. Like, why is everyone loving him? And then the minute we met at that comp, we spent hours together, and I walked away from that comp going, he's one of the best guys I've ever met. Like, he's amazing. And Abel Costonis was sort of a mutual friend of both of us, and he was sitting there going, you guys would get along. And we're both going, nah. And, now you can't separate us when we got on the beers or whatever.
Yeah, so cool. Yeah. Now, just looping back to the Adelaide BBQ scene, we've got a comp happening right now in Queensland, and another one in 2 weeks' time.
You lucky buggers.
What's it looking like for you down there?
Look, we are looking good. Don't get me wrong. It feels like we're staying in front of the whole COVID situation. As for barbecue comp and festivals and everything like that, I think they're going to hold back. They're sort of really, really watching being safe and all that. We've hit a new restriction here with standing and drinking and eating food. You now have to sit down. It's a strange one. I've seen that look, Ben.
Okay.
So basically what they're trying to do there is stop social drinking like arms around each other and stuff at a bar. So obviously me owning the bar here, I've got to keep right up with all of those. So it's literally sit down and eat and drink, and not a social event as such.
So you can't loop arms and sing your favourite footy anthems?
No, that's all cancelled. There's no man love allowed.
Oh, it's terrible. They're killing off the Aussie culture.
Don't bother coming, Ben. Don't bother coming, mate.
Got a project you'd like to work on with the SHC team? Shoot Ben an email on ben@smokinghotconfessions.com and let's have a conversation.
Alrighty, so let's move on now and chat about the shop. Now, the first question that I got to ask is, when I came down there last year, it was called the Home of Low and Slow. Now it's called RG. Have you done a bit of a rebrand?
My branding changes like my underwear. It really does. I guess, look, the thing behind my brand, it's strange because I never ever have the vision of creating a brand or selling a product. That's not what I'm about. I am my brand. It's a weird way of thinking, but my journey and my dreams and where I lead and what I want to do, I'm a family man. I've got my daughter. I've got my wife. She rides in the food truck. She sit out at the barbecue with me. So the RG and the home of Low and Slow is a movement as I move and as I grow as a person. This so-called brand of mine does the same thing. When we had Adelaide Hills Beef, the butcher shop out in the northern side of the city here, we always used the slogan, the home of Low and Slow, because we were sponsoring all the major teams, anyone that needed any rubs, meats and all that. We were the people to come to. So then when we sold that shop and moved over to the bar, we wanted to keep the same flow going and sort of people knowing that it was still me and it was still going to be the place where you could get those things. So obviously Adelaide Hills Beef wouldn't recognise with that, so we went with the home of Low and Slow. Then we kept the home of Low and Slow, and that was working really, really well. And then we got the food truck, hit the road, and sort of everyone was like, well, where's Rik Carr? Where's Rik Carr? And it's like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And it was Grant Neal that came up with it. He goes, you need to orientate your brand with your name. That's you. That's what the people are tracing. So that's where the RG comes from, as in Rick's Grill. So it's far from me being cocky. It's far from anything. I want to be involved with everyone. There's nothing better when I'm out on the road, out in the barbecue. Someone rocks up, we talk the talk, and have fun, have a beer, and that's what barbecue's all about to me.
Yeah, and you've done a good job with that as well. I was having a bit of a look through your socials there earlier. Your themes, you have this kind of a hip hop theme, and it seems to have gone through. Like it's consistent across all the branding, which is really good too.
I grew up really, really strong listening to hip hop, got involved in emceeing in hip hop nightclubs and stuff like that as a young fella. So that's sort of a part of me, and I want to represent who I am. So yeah, even we've just now launched a new range of rubs that are about to hit the shelves. They'll be over at Q Club and over Glenn's in Melbourne and Luke's and stuff like that. And all of those rubs are orientated with the hip hop names as well. So we've got a chicken one, and that's called Chicky Minaj. It's got like a photo. We've got a graphic designer to incorporate a chicken and a picture of Nicki Minaj and incorporate that as the logo. So I'll send you the JPEG of that. We've got a pork one, and that's called Piggy Smalls. So that's got Biggie and a pig mixed together. And then we've got the beef one that's called the infamous MOB from MOB song. So we've done that as well. And so everything I try to do and try to incorporate it with who I am, so people know who I am.
Nice. So is this a part where you tell us that you're the sixth member of the Hilltop Hoods, and you're the guy that quit the band just before that first album came out? Yeah,
I was gonna be famous if only my mum and dad let me do it. No.
Yeah. You actually wrote that first album, didn't you?
That's right. Yeah, correct. Yeah, nosebleed section is all mine.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So, mate, look, congrats on those new rubs. That's really exciting. I actually did see Piggy Smalls. I saw that flash up in the social medias, but I didn't realize that was yours.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
We were using them on obviously when you're running a restaurant and cooking the volumes of barbecue that we're cooking down here. I mean, you can't afford to use. We started off using Butcher's Axe is one we were loved using. We were using a lot of Butcher's Axe bark up on our brisket and all that. And then my accountant sort of rings me and goes, "No, mate, you can't do it this way. Like you're going to send yourself broke." So obviously back to the drawing board, and we made them commercially for us to use. And then sort of we had all the customers going, "Oh, what was on that pork ribs?" Or what was on those beef ribs? And so I'd go out the back of the kitchen and go, "Here, grab a bag, have a container, take it with you." And suddenly my wife's going, "Do you know how much rub you're giving away? Like, you got to bottle this shit. You got to bottle it up. You got to, and not so much just for making money off of it, but to get it out there and to not be giving away and running it short in the kitchen and having the chef continually make more and more rubs. Keep up with them."
Yeah. Well, it's a good business model too to have people come in and try your food, and then you go, "Hey, here's a bottle for an extra $10. Take a bottle home with you."
Yeah, well, different to most restaurants, we've actually I've followed through with the butchering, and I've kept a small meat display, as you would have seen when you were down here, a small meat display in here. So you can actually come in and purchase during the day, have a beer and purchase some meat. We've always got the pork ribs and the beef ribs and the briskets and all the low and slow cuts. So straight away when they're coming in there, they'll say, "Oh, what's rub's good?" And not being biased, but my sales of other rubs have slightly decreased at the moment.
Yeah. Well, look, I was going to ask about that. Tell us about the range of what you've got there in the shop.
The range, I don't know if you can see it behind me here. We've got a wall full of rubs that we get supplied. We go through Q Club and Stag & Co and all the good ones. The range is huge, but if I was to pick out some favourites at the moment, I've just got onto the new Suck Knuckle rub that Craig's brought out. This thing is fire. This thing is it's a honey sweet. I was telling him yesterday, like I'm basically just going to start drinking the stuff, mix it with some water and drinking it. But we're putting on onion rings and fries and all that in the venue here, and it's mind blowing. And then we've got Tom Domain from Smoky Pastures. He's now bringing out a range as well, and he's got like a bacon cure rub that's come out. So we're actually doing a masterclass with Tom Domain and Aaron Palmer from Low and Slow Basics for Father's Day. That's going to be teaching guys how to make bacon.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, so that rub there is another amazing one. And then obviously, I'm a big fan of the Bark Up by the Butcher's Axe as well for my home cooks.
Yeah, I don't think I've tried that one yet. I've tried the Bullseye and the first one, the lamb one.
Yep. Yeah, no, but there's we could go on for rubs for years. I haven't found a bad one yet. I think the more you can put your own flavour profile out in a rub, the better it is. And that's why I do promote and do believe in Suck Knuckles' new rub. That's Craig in a rub. Like, it's so bold and big and character, like that big laugh he's got and everything. That's Craig in a rub, and that's where I think you've hit the bullseye. That's why I was orientated with those hip hop labels and all that. I wouldn't mind being, I'm known as the dirty larrikin, the loose dude, and that's what my rubs are. They're dirty and they're loose.
Fair enough. Yeah. Now you've also got a small meat cabinet there behind you, and you are a butcher by trade. Do you still break up meat and things yourself in the shop there?
No, we don't break them up because we get it all in pre-packed. I've actually done a deal, so to speak, with a South Australian supermarket brand called Drake's, which is a local supplier, and they've started supplying some great low and slow meat at the moment. They're using sun pork, baby back ribs, and some of the Oki Wagyu and stuff like that. So JP, a guy from there, we've sort of linked up and we're working together on producing some really, really good quality low and slow cuts that can be at hand for someone on a Sunday afternoon, and going into the supermarket, grabbing some bread and milk and grab a pack of beef ribs while you're there.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. So from what I've gathered then, people can come into your store, they can have a beer, they can try some of the food out of your kitchen there. They can then buy some of the meat, buy some of the rubs, take it home and have a crack at it themselves.
100%. The main thing that I like to promote here is come in and talk about what you're buying. But I'm always here. I live here, basically. Always up for giving advice, always up for talking. If you're happy with what you're doing, discuss it with me. I might learn something off you. But the beauty of it is you can come in here, sit down, have a beer. We can talk barbecue. I'll run you through the smokers I'm using. We can compare it to what you're doing. It's more creating an experience rather than just a purchase. Well,
that is the unique thing about what you have to offer, because you do have that background as a butcher. You've then moved into low and slow cooking. You're now cooking out of a commercial kitchen. You've really got the entire gambit of the industry knowledge there.
Next thing, I'm going to start some radio interviews to see how I go with that.
It's good to have that board. Podcasting is pretty close.
It's very close. It's good to have that broad knowledge, a little bit of everything, and you create your own flavour and style with that. Correct.
Yeah. Now, do you have like an online shop available? Are people able to jump online and order stuff and have it delivered?
I've started, believe it or not, started trying to build my own website. I got heaps of time on my hands. I was bored, twiddling my thumbs at home on the couch, and thought, I can do this. This is easy. So I'm about halfway through. I've got a great graphic designer guy down here that runs out of McLaren Vale in the wine region, and he's the guy that's been doing all my rub labels, and he's sort of into his R&B and music and into his low and slow cooking as well. So his influences are the same as mine, and he's sort of helping me build that website, which we're about to launch in the next few weeks, that people will be able to purchase online. I won't push it like the other guys do. I prefer that face-to-face experience. And I like to talk to people. I like to catch up with people. So it's not something I'll more push what I'm doing and where I'll be. So where the food truck will be or what events we've got going on at the venue and stuff like that. We'll have the option of purchasing our rubs through there. But it'll be right on the back page of the website, so to speak. It's not something that I'm really interested in.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Sounds good. I was just curious because there's so many people moving that way at the moment, particularly with COVID and this development of what experts are dubbing the delivery culture. I was just curious about that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the whole world is changing with COVID, and every way we buy things, ordering food. I couldn't imagine what Uber's percentage up at the moment would be. I couldn't even think of it. But yeah, you're right. Everything is changing that way. I don't know if it's what you call being old school in my mind or whatever. I just like that personal experience of, always when someone comes in here, it's like, oh, do you need a hand with those beef ribs? Do you want me to take that membrane off for you? Do you want me to show you? And I'll literally take them out in the kitchen, remove that silver skin and remove that membrane for them. And they're mind blown. Oh, what, you'll really do that for me? It's like, yeah, that's what barbecue's about. You've got to pass on what you know. And, the more people that do it, the better the lifestyle is for all of us.
Yeah, no doubt about that at all. Now, let's move on to the truck. Tell us about how that came about.
Oh, the truck. Last night I was in the truck. We served 180 meals in 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So the lineup was about 130 people plus. From when I put on the social media, I'll be there at 5 o'clock. We got out there at about 4:30, and there was about 60 people already waiting. And I've gone, what are we in for here? So, and that was just bloody mental. So the truck has taken off in a way that when the view of the business was to get the truck was sort of extra on top. And the truck is slowly taking over where it's the main concern of the business. We've got Wavell Showgrounds down here, which is the biggest showgrounds in Adelaide. And they've now picked it up. They want it in for all of their events. So we've done a couple of events in Wavell already. It's getting booked for weddings, 21st. It's taken off 10 times faster than what I ever thought it would be. And it's a way of me once again learning as I go along. Last night when we got there, we got absolutely tumbled in the first hour. We were running around in circles, scratching our heads, going, "What are we doing? What have we got ourselves into?" But that's part of the experience. And luckily down here in little old Adelaide, as they say, everyone embraces that journey with you and rolls with those punches with you. And you go, "Oh, cool. Next one's going to be even better. Let's go again." And it's just a great thing to not only learn those things, but learn it with your customers and with the public as you do it.
Yeah, very nice. Now, you just mentioned that it's picked up a lot quicker than you're expecting. Why do you think that's happened?
That is probably the only thing that COVID has actually done in my favour, strangely enough. When COVID hit, we hit the pretty hard restrictions here in Adelaide that we basically had to close. We had to close our venue down for about 3 months. And me not being able to sit still for 30 seconds, let alone 3 months, was like, right, I've got to do something here. What am I going to do? So that's where the food truck come into play. And literally, it was close. We were almost like the ice cream man when we were a kid, rolling around the streets with the music playing, waiting for someone to buy some barbecue. We ended up with a spot out north at a hotel there where they closed down their kitchen. And he said, yeah, come out here. I've got a drive-through so we can incorporate the beer sales with the barbecue. And we rolled out, we put it all up on our social medias and all that and got out there and same thing, line up 50, 60 people deep. And it was just on from the minute we got there. And we were like, okay, we've started something here. And then we sort of started just taking it all around the whole of Adelaide, down south to the coast on the beach and up in the hills. And we're looking later on in the year to do a few rural places up in the country and stuff like that. So it's good to hit the road with it. It's something different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So did you have to do all the different things like, put a cone out every 1.5 meter, a traffic cone out every 1.5 meters.
100%.
To space people out.
Yeah, so we had cones between 1.5 meters. At one stage when it got really bad down here, we started doing a quick drive-through auction where we were literally doing a barbecue box, running it out to their car, putting it through the window, swiping their card and sending them on their way. Like I'm someone that embraces anything that's thrown at me. I'll make something of it. And I remember it was down with rain. I'm running barbecue boxes up and down the food truck out to the cars. And my wife's just there shaking her head at me going, what are you doing? And I was like, yeah, I'm loving this. This is so much fun. I'm someone that's just, give me whatever. Give me a 3 and a 4 in poker and I'll go for 21,
Yeah. Sounds good to me, man. So one of the big questions that I do want to ask is a lot of people will move from the backyard into a trailer or a truck and then into bricks and mortar, but you did it opposite. You sort of went went against the grain there? Why did you go for the shop first and the truck second?
I got no idea.
I was hoping that was going to be some part of like some grand strategy that you were going to share.
I know, It was it's just a strategic move I made. Yeah, no, it's not. I got no idea. I wanted, when I had the butcher shop, I was developing relationships with customers, especially the low and slow guys, where we were leaning over the counter and we'd sit there talking for half an hour, 45 minutes about barbecue. And I always said to my wife, I wish we could do this over beer and over food. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking to these guys, I'm developing friendships, not just customers. So straight away and it was out of the blue that we got offered the sale on the butcher shop. It wasn't that we chose to leave it. Some guy came up to the counter and wanted to buy us out. So
wow, that's cool.
We straight away went, I said, right, I wanted to do this. I want to buy a bar and I want to do some food. And I actually rang Andrew from Q Club. I jumped on the phone to Andrew and I said, Andrew, look, what you do, like, it's amazing. I've always wanted to do that type of concept.
They are crushing it, aren't they?
I want to be seen I'm copying you or anything, but can I get some advice? And we all know what the big cab's like. 10 minutes later, I'm on a plane flying over to Melbourne, and no, this is no lie. And 3 days later, I'm flying on a plane over to Melbourne, sleeping at Andrew's house, and he's showing me how he runs the Q Club and giving me all the inside outs. We got off the airport and we got off of the plane. We did the old Mikey and Grant thing and hired the Mustang, and we jumped in the Mustang. We went straight to the Q Club, and we just sat there, and Andrew just fed me this bookload of information of what I need to do. And, this is the staffing, this is how you set this up, this is what you do here. And I think we spent almost a week at Andrew's house, and the hospitality that him and Pam gave us was like second to none, and just opened not just their house, not just their lifestyle, but even their business and how they live and how they survive. They opened all that up to me and my wife, Tanya, and just welcomed us with open arms. It was mind-blowing. Like,
wow, that's incredible.
We all know what Andrew's like, so everyone probably watching this is going, yeah, well, that's Andrew. Do you know what I mean? But name guys that will do that in business. Like, there's not many.
Yeah. We often say that the competition barbecue is so good for that reason. You can come into my tent and I'll show you everything I do. That's one thing. But as you say, when it comes to business, that's a whole other ball game. So someone that's going to invite you into their family home and then teach you how they've built their business, that's something else altogether.
Yeah, and that is what barbecue, exactly what you're saying. That is what barbecue's about. And that's where I struggled in the meat game. We, butchers would be like, oh, don't go to that butcher. I'm sponsored by this butcher, or, you know what I mean? That butcher does it better. And it's still going on now. I'll speak about it. It's still going on now in Australia with a couple of the bigger butchers. And, to be honest, when it comes to low and slow cuts, we're opening a cryovac bag and we're handing it to a customer. If you can do that better than someone else, I'm open ears, because we're all on the same playing field. We should all be working together and building an industry like the barbecue has become, and all working together on it. That's simple. So Andrew taught me that on hospitality side of things. I hope that I can push that on, because I'm still involved in helping other butchers here in Adelaide. Only 2 weeks ago, I spent a week out in a butcher shop. We had a mate out here that was in some trouble. I went out there and helping him run his shop for a week in the mornings, and then coming back to the venue and running the venue in the afternoons. So I'm still involved in the meat industry as such, and it would be great to see all these guys take that new leaf and all work together. That would be great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about that at all. So let's just loop back to the truck again for a second. What have you found have been some of the advantages of trading out of a food truck versus the shop?
Being able to move where the crowds are. For example, you come the middle of summer, I'll head down the coast. Middle of winter, you can pick your days. You're not limited to, I have to be open Monday to Friday, or, Saturday, Sunday, whatever days they are. You're open to match your own lifestyle. I'm looking to embrace the positives of the food truck, of being able to go away, have some weekends away, take off, over to Melbourne or something like that when the borders open back up, and do a weekend there and then bring it back. So I guess the freedom is what I'm trying to say. The options of being able to go and do whatever you want with it. For example, we'll go out to our spots with the food truck and I'll have my music blaring like it's a bloody nightclub. And the customers love it. Where you do that in a restaurant or you do that in a butcher shop, it's a bit like, whoa, what's this guy doing? What's happening here? But the food truck, you create this atmosphere where everyone's basically on a dance floor. You know, it's great. That's probably one of the biggest positives. And I always say the food truck really is, it's like a drug. You prep for a big gig for 2-3 days, cutting meat, trimming meat, smoking meat, cutting all the slaw, you know, all this 3 days of a build up. And then you get out there and you're there for 3 hours and you completely sell out of everything. And it's just this rush. And at the end of it, you turn off the lights and you got sweat pouring down. You're like, what just happened? Where am I? And you go home and you're still like wide awake. I literally jump on the phone and ring everyone that I'm involved with, Kato and Grant and all the people that have helped me with this business. I'm like, what is this amount of money? They're like, calm down, breathe. What happened? You know, we did this and this person did that. And we had this person was there. And it's just such an excitement, adrenaline rush because it's such a build up over such a short period of time that you don't even realize it's happening while it's happening. Like your wedding day and like, you know, when your child's born, at the end of it, you go, whoa, that really just happened. Well, every gig I do on that food truck is like that. Like, it's just mind-blowing.
You're listening to the internationally awarded Smoking Hot Confessions podcast with massive barbecue nerd, Ben Arnott.
Alrighty, now we're going to start to move into the third segment of the interview now, and you wanted to share with us some tips for barbecuing at scale. So I'll turn the microphones over to you, and you can kick things off.
Yeah, sure. So, look, working in the meat industry and now in hospitality, probably the most common question I get asked is, you know, I've got 10 people coming over. What size brisket do I need? Or, you know, I'm doing a buck sign. I've got 100 people. Do I need 500 kilos of meat or whatever? And things, just those type of questions of what actually cooking for a certain amount of people. And that was probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned moving over into the different trades that I do now, that controlling what you cook and the amount you cook and also the times that you cook things. That's a massive, massive thing in barbecue, you know. You can't put a brisket on the same time you put a chicken wing on, or, you know, and you can't serve 300 grams of brisket in a barbecue box and make money. Do you know what I mean? It's about supplying the right amount of food where people walk away going, I've eaten everything and everything. I'm full. I've got the meat sweats, but limiting on how much you actually put in that box so they get a good taste of barbecue. That's the big one.
So it kind of sounds like what you're saying is you need to strike a balance within that box of finding where your profit margins are large versus where they're small.
And that's a hard thing to do, especially for me. I'm someone like, you come over to my house, I'll feed you. Do you know what I mean? Like you will be asleep on my couch after eating food. So it's a matter of me personally getting that same experience with every customer, but not having my accountant call me at the end of the week going, what the hell did you do this week? And that's a massive, massive one. And even when I say on a business level, even on a personal level, like I think that's what scares some of the amateur guys off in cooking. They'll go out to a butcher shop and they'll see a brisket for, you know, $80, $100 and go, oh, I'm not paying that for me. Where you can break that down and do it in so many different meals that could be your whole weekly meat budget could be that one brisket. You know, you can do tacos, you can do spaghetti bolognese, you can do so many different meals with the one cut of meat that it can actually end up being very cost effective compared to buying steaks, chops, chicken breast and mincemeat and that stuff. Using it versatile is all about being cost effective with barbecue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, some of the guys in the Smoking Hot Confessions barbecue community are into doing Japanese noodle dishes at the moment, and some of the slices of brisket going into those noodles it just looks amazing.
I'm loving seeing. We've got Dane Cohen down here from Smoking still. He's right into doing like his brisket foes and even Smoking Joint hooked up with a couple of other guys that went out to Malura Station and they were doing some pork belly buns, some rolls and stuff, and there are different styles they can now do with barbecue, sort of like an infused barbecue. I'm loving the look of that because I think the guys like yourself and like us that have been doing it for so many years now, brisket isn't the most appealing meal to me anymore. I'm sorry, don't get me wrong. I love my burnt ends, but I can't eat it every day anymore. I really can't. So to see these infused barbecue menus coming out now, it's amazing to see. I'm looking forward to seeing all the different styles to come through. It's
actually funny that you say that. I'm just trying to think back in my mind now of when was the last time I just sat and had a couple of slices of brisket. And it's probably only once or twice a year that I'll cook a brisket and slice it up and just have a meal of brisket and slaw or something like that. But it's where the brisket goes after that I get most 100%. Excited about.
Yeah, it's as you're saying that, we've finished lunch service here now. That's why I'm able to do this interview. We had customers at a table in here who have two, and I've walked past them today, and they've ordered a couple of barbecue boxes. I've said, guys, weren't you guys at the food truck last night? I said, yeah, we were there last night. And I've gone out the back, and I actually rang Grant Neal, getting a few pointers and stuff for this interview. I said, you'll never guess, I've got customers in here that are eating here now and we're eating last night. And his response was, blah, blah, blah. Like he couldn't think of anything worse, eating barbecue back to back. And so that's where I think the infused menus of like your brisket foes and things like that are going to start growing them. You know, you can't eat chicken every day. It's the saying, you know what I mean? Like, I think we're not getting bored of it because the passion of cooking it, I don't think we'll ever leave any of our bloods, but the passion of actually eating it, we are expanding our minds into different menus and different ways, you know, chili con carnes and different tacos and, you know, the things that are coming out now. And I think that's where SCA sort of made a great influence on barbecue, that you see these such different things come out now that are mind-blowing. Like, you know, a lot of the old school barbecue guys are like, oh no, I don't do edible flowers, I don't do any glitter. But you actually look at what the guys have made in those boxes, and it is mind-blowing. And that's where I think the whole different infused style of barbecue has actually come from, is that little bit of influence from the SCA.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you about barbecuing at scale is, how do you calculate volume? You sort of mentioned that before with some people asking you questions about bucks parties and all that sort of thing. How do you calculate volume for the different events? And then how do you manage to link that back to making a regular order each week from your suppliers?
Yeah, sure. So look, the way I work out volume is very much how you said, well, I went from bricks and mortar to a food truck. I work backwards. Probably no one. I don't know if anyone else does it. I don't know. I literally work backwards on my ordering. So I'll start off with going, how many people I've got, how many grams of each cut of protein I want to give them. A common mistake I find is a lot of people go like 200-300 grams of protein, thinking they've got to give that to the one person. Well, then you go pork, lamb, chicken on top of that. You're now dealing with 500-600 grams of protein, and they just blow it out the ballpark. I've gone to so many barbecues where it's just like so much meat, where it's like, no, why don't you have little bits of everything and make it the same amount of protein? So I'll always work on around 300-350 grams of protein on a finished product per serving. So me personally, I always work on about 300 grams per person per serving. Obviously added on with extra sides and all the fun stuff on top of that, pulled pork, nachos and things like that in the box as well.
Oh, beautiful, man. That sounds delicious. Yeah. And one of the biggest challenges that I've heard from talking to other people doing food trucks and restaurants and that is finding and securing regular products, so consistent weights and qualities and all that sort of thing. What advice do you have for sifting through suppliers?
The best advice I give is communicate, make a relationship with whoever you're purchasing. Like we do with our barbers, you know, like we won't go to, I don't know about you, but I don't go to a different barber. I go to my same barber every single time I walk in. He doesn't say to me, how do you want your haircut? He says, you know, how's Jordan and Tanya? How's the wife and kids? Like, you know, how's the shop going? So exactly the same thing with your purchases. If I hear, especially in the hospitality, it's quite big to swap and to change suppliers. Where in the meat industry, it's very much you find one that you like and you get along with, you create a relationship and a bond with him, and then you work on developing an actual business strategy together on producing a good product. So that's probably the big one that I've learnt myself, that the difference between the meat and the hospitality is I'm finding people in the hospitality game that I like, that inspire me, or that, you know, understand what I'm doing. And I stick with them and we grow together. So that's the big one I find.
Mate, I love that this keeps looping back to relationships. I think that's absolutely just incredible. It seems to be a common theme coming through everything that you've said to me this afternoon. It's all about the relationships.
It is. That's what barbecue's about to me. Even putting a meal on the table here, my goal is to not give you a good feed. That's supposed to be done. That's my benchmark. That has to happen. My thing is to develop a relationship with you, create you having an experience, whether you're here for your 21st, whether you're here for your wedding anniversary, whatever you're here for. I want you to walk out going, I had the best anniversary, or I had the best birthday, not I had the best meal. That's standard. That's my job to do that. I want to go above that and go, I actually had the best night or the best Saturday night or the best work drinks or whatever I had. That was the best food truck experience. That was the best steak I bought. Not I bought a good steak, you know?
Yeah. Those are some really cool words that you're sharing there. Some real tips of wisdom. I love that sort of stuff. Okay. So let's round things out with your top 3 pieces of advice for people who are either looking to get into a food truck, a bricks and mortar, or both.
Follow your passion would be the very first one. Follow your passion. If the way that things have changed in this day and age, especially now that COVID's going strong, we're looking for identities in business. That's what I believe. We're looking for characters in business. And, you know, like you go, I don't know what it's like in Queensland, but in Adelaide here, we'll go to a barbershop and there'll be a graffiti wall, or a pinball machine or an 8-ball table in a barbershop, or we'll go to a milk bar and they'll have like vending machines of crazy stuff or whatever, you know. Whatever you think is outside the box and whatever you think is crazy and stupid, if it's you, do it because people will love it. That's where I've gone with this hip hop theme. It's a completely different, weird aspect, and everyone's just loving it. They're embracing it. They're like, what? Nicki Minaj? What? Picky Smalls? And it creates sales in a really, really weird way. If you're into pretty flowers or you're into ballerinas or anything like that, do it. Like, just go with your identity and what you believe in. So tip number 2 would honestly be, don't be scared to seek advice. Speak to people that you honestly look up to. I had the guys, Mikey Wilcox is a name that comes straight to my head. I looked up before I'd even met Mikey or knew of Mikey. I was a big follower of the whole badass barbecue scene. I thought his marketing and, you know, what he was doing was amazing. I got in touch with him. I've ended up competing with Mikey now. I've ended up doing masterclasses with Mikey now.
Wow.
Mikey stayed at my house on a regular basis. Our wives are good friends now. We're trying to organise now to catch back up, and I'm trying to get over to his house now. We talk every second or third day, and he was an inspiration to me. So big advice would be, if you see someone or like something that someone else is doing, don't see it as competition. Don't get involved with it. Talk to them. Ask them to learn. It's exactly like what I was saying, what I did with Andrew. I didn't bring up Andrew to say, I want to copy your idea. I said, I'm looking up to you. I respect what you're doing. I need some help. I want some advice. Can I be involved? Can I get some help? And that's the difference between the barbecue scene and any other scene, is they will open their hands and give you a big hug and say, come on in, what can we do? How can I help you? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it would honestly be to look up to whoever inspires you, communicate with, especially in barbecue, communicate with them, talk with them, and seek advice off them.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. I have done exactly the same thing with, I think, exactly the same people. When I was trying to work out all the AV stuff, the microphones, the cameras and that, it was Mikey that I went to, and I said, this is what I want to do. It's a bit different to what you're doing, but can you give me some ideas of how to do it? And he was great. He said, look, this is the hardware I use. Bang, bang, bang. This is how I do it. Bang, bang, bang. There you go. And I was like, awesome. So yeah,
I only spoke to him yesterday, and I said to him, I've got this masterclass coming up, and we used to do them for Barbecue Law. I said, have you still got that old run sheet we do at the Barbecue Law? Have you got information? 2 minutes later, bang, email. This is what I did. This is what I do. These are, this is my recipes. This is everything. Like, it's open book. And yeah, if you can find people like that, join up with them, link with them, embrace it, and learn from them. Yeah, definitely.
So good, man. So good. So what would be
shout out to Mikey Wilcox.
Big shout out to Mikey Wilcox. Yeah. So what would be your third and final tip?
Third and final tip would, at the same time, embracing what other people do, don't worry about what other people do. A lot of people, especially in business, get caught up with, this guy's doing that, so I can't do that, or I've got to make this move. And, I've heard there's another barbecue shop coming here, or I've heard, like exactly what I did here with the Q Club. Andrew's already doing it. Don't worry about what other people are doing. They're on their game. They've already done it. They're already doing it. You got to feed your family. You got to put your plate on the table. Worry about what you're doing. Concentrate on what you're doing. Be confident in what you want to do, and you'll succeed. So don't worry about what other people are doing, and don't get caught up in that type of drama.
Yeah, and if I could just add one thing to that, do it your way. Because
100%.
The way that you do something is going to be different to the way that someone else does the same thing. So
that's right. That comes back to my point number 1. Create your identity, create who you are. That's where I've been involved, like the hip hop, and you know what I mean? I've gone out and slung barbecue and done the same as everyone else, you know what I mean? Look at Black Bear Barbecue, like their identity of who they are. It's Black Bear. Like, no one can copy that. No one can do that. And not that I'm on even close to the scale of black, but as my brand grows, I will be that hip hop barbecue brand that no one else can do. So don't bother coming up being a hip hop barbecue brand. Come up and be a ballet barbecue brand, or come up and be a heavy metal barbecue brand, or come up and be sports car barbecue brand. Whatever you want to do, but do it your way, and yeah, you'll succeed. If you're confident in who you are, you'll succeed in whatever you choose to do.
Mate, I love that so much. All right, look, I realise that service time is coming up for you. We've just seen a couple of customers starting to come and go already. So I'm going to throw the studio over to you. Give us some shout outs and some thanks, and tell people where they can track Rik's Grill down on the internet.
Yeah, sure. So our main page is Facebook RG, and you'll find us on there. We've got the Instagram of RG as well. We're now building the website. Look, I'm a chatty bloke. Hit me up on a direct message. We can chat. I'll tell you where I am. You want to come learn some lessons? We've got masterclasses happening all the time. We've got live shows coming. In the talks of looking at another venue. I can't say it. My lips are still on that. But yeah, there's always
the very end of the interview.
I was waiting for it. Look, I'm always growing and I'm always doing something different. Send me a private message. Follow me, because things are changing, and they always will with me. Next interview will be something different, Ben, I know. Yeah,
looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to it. Look, I just want to say thanks very much for coming on the show. I really appreciated you taking the time. I realise that you're a busy man. You're even busier than me. I only sleep 5 to 6 hours a night, and you're sleeping 4. So you're beating me, I guess, if that's a way of looking at it.
I guess so.
You're winning. I think
you're beating me, actually. But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, mate. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, mate. Well, no, thank you, Ben. Nice to catch up, mate.
And there you have it, family. That was Rik Carr himself from Rik's Grill, all the way down there in South Australia in Adelaide. I have been to that joint myself. It is really cracking, and I've had some of those chicken wings, and they were fantastic. So we got to talk about Rik's beginnings as a butcher, and then the 3 different sort of phases of his career in barbecue. We got to find out all about the shop and the truck, and then we closed out with some tips and advice for people who are looking to walk a similar path, but doing it in their own way, which was a really nice way that we sort of summed up the end there. So if you are watching this video on Facebook and you've really enjoyed it, give us a like and a share. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that little notification bell, subscribe, and give us a thumbs up. On Instagram TV, the little hearts and follows are the way to go. And if you're listening on a podcasting app, see if you can give us a bit of a rating and review, particularly if you are listening on Apple Podcasts. That particular platform carries a lot of weight in the industry, and ratings and reviews really mean a lot over there. So thank you very much for your time. It was great to catch up with Rik. I can't wait to get down to Adelaide again. And until next time, take care of each other and keep on queuing.
Thanks for listening to the Smoking Hot Confessions podcast. Head on over to smokinghotconfessions.com for recipes, tips, and Ben's own confessions.